Good morning. My name is Ryan Solomon. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about a controversial idea within the fire service today that is with regards to paramedics and how long paramedics should be trained prior to being let go to function on their own. This is very controversial. Many different departments do different things, whether it be they just throw them the keys and let them operate immediately out of school and after taking the state test. And also there's other departments that have a very long drawn out training process and mentorship that they have to go through to be able to function on their own. And I'd like to give you a little bit of an insight on how this type of thing operates and why I feel that all departments need to have this particular function in place to ensure quality of care and quality of paramedics throughout their career. So with my department that I currently work for, we have a apprenticeship program in place that allows them to go through 1 year of paramedic school. They become state certified, and then they put in a request to want to function as a primary paramedic. Once that occurs, they have to go through a rigorous testing process through our guidelines, and they actually have to take up to a year to get released as a primary paramedic. So when they start out, they get out of school, they take their state test, they come and they begin to ride with mentors. These are seasoned paramedics that are very good at what they do. They're very good at teaching, and they actually run calls. They ride on the rescue truck with the paramedics, and they mentor them, they guide them, and they allow them to gain a lot of experience in the field, which I think is crucial for what we're discussing today. The main object of this is to basically ensure that when they're out there functioning, that they're gaining experience and they're gaining knowledge throughout the time to when they come across certain situations that aren't specifically placed in the guidelines. And when I say guidelines, there are a lot that are in place. This is an example. These are all guidelines for what we function in our county. Now, this is a lot of paperwork. This is a lot of stuff to actually have to go through and learn. Now, what they do is they'll go through it and learn it. They'll memorize it and they know how to treat it. But what the key point I'd like to make in my argument is, what happens when you come across a situation that doesn't fall within these guidelines? What do you do? And that's where the key of the mentorship and the apprenticeship comes into play, to allowing these paramedics to go through certain things that don't necessarily fit in the guidelines, but they have the ability to work through them and become better. And that's something that's going to stick in their minds as they go throughout their career to allow them to become better. They're able to work and actually think outside the box. And I'd like to give you an example of that. Just the other day, I'm a firefighter myself. I'm a paramedic. I've been a paramedic for 14 years. Throughout those 14 years, I've learned a lot of things. I've come across a lot of occurrences that just didn't fall within those guidelines, so it was a little bit tricky, and you kind of had to think outside the box to figure it out and come up with a good game plan to mitigate the situation. So the other day, we had a call where an individual was sick and needed to be given medication, and the brand new paramedic came out and gave the patient a medication, and nothing happened. And the paramedic froze. He just did not know what to do. He was scared to death and just didn't know where to go next. Fortunately enough, I was there on scene, and I've been there and I've seen this type of situation happen before, and I was able to kind of guide him through and get him through to the next step, and we were able to mitigate the emergency without any problem. And he was very relieved, and he was very, very shocked in what we were able to do, and he didn't even think about it. And this is the type of thing that you're going to come across day in and day out with brand new paramedics. They're going to just come across these situations that you have to be able to mitigate, but you have to think outside the box to do so. And that's where this mentorship comes into play, to be able to learn just through basic experience of calls that allows them to be better paramedics. And these other departments that actually have these in place where they just, as soon as they get out of school, they throw you the keys, that's just not practical. And to me, that's where my argument lies. It needs to be to where they have an apprenticeship put in place, certain guidelines that they have to fall between and follow, and eventually be mentored and to the ability to where that mentor says, you know what, this guy's good to go. He's been through situations, we've been through all these different things, and I've mentored him, I've guided him, I've taught him, and he's ready to go. And even then, when they do get released and they do function as primary paramedics, even after the mentorship and the apprenticeship, that's where the learning truly begins. That's where they're actually going to be out on the street being forced to make decisions, these tough decisions, and be able to function appropriately throughout their career and gain that experience. But at least they got a basic set of knowledge from the beginning and was mentored in the right way. So that, I feel like, is the right approach to go when it comes to discussing what we should do with paramedics as soon as they're getting out of school, and just going home and giving them the responsibility right away, or sending them through an apprenticeship program to make them better. So I appreciate you all listening today, and I hope this is something that you will take my advice and take my position in making sure that these types of programs are put in place prior to putting these paramedics out on the streets.